So the state of Illinois, in its supreme wisdom, has decided to fine good old Dr. Glidden $5,000 for practicing medicine without a license. Why? Because on my website, I listed myself as Dr. Glidden. That's why. They want to fine me $5,000 because I called myself on my website, which is based out of Chicago. You know, I domicile in the state of Illinois. I live in Chicago, a suburb of Chicago. And Chicago does not license nor regulate the practice of naturopathic medicine. So even though I am a graduate of a fully accredited doctoral degree granting institution, even though I have a doctoral degree that's legitimate, it's not one of these fly-by-night doctoral degrees. It's a legitimate doctoral degree granted by a fully accredited university. Bastyr University in Seattle, Washington, a very prestigious school. Even though I have a naturopathic doctoral degree and have had one since 1991, even though I have been licensed to practice naturopathic medicine for the last 20 years, because the state of Illinois does not recognize naturopathic medicine, they will not allow me on my website, which is based out of Chicago, to refer to myself as Dr. Glidden. Can you imagine that? And, you know, they want to fine me $5,000 for practicing medicine without a license because I listed myself as, called myself on the website Dr. Glidden. Go figure. Now, folks, of course, this is a foolish thing, and I'm going to fight it, and I'm going to win, and then I'm going to sue somebody, and maybe we'll get some leverage out of this. But the fact of the matter is that this is nonsense, right? If you think we have a free medical market here in the United States, so wake up and smell the coffee, because we don't. Naturopathic medicine right now is only currently licensed and regulated in 17 states, I believe, 17 states plus Puerto Rico. So that means, you know, a perfect example, Chicago. In Seattle, as a licensed naturopathic physician, I can deliver babies, perform minor surgery, prescribe drugs, work in hospitals, order any diagnostic test I want, make any diagnosis that I want, legally call myself a physician. And it's all covered by major medical insurance like Blue Cross and Blue Shield. It's completely covered by insurance, completely regulated by the great state of Washington. Fantastic. Everybody loves it there. Now, what this means is if Dr. Peter Glidden, who's licensed in the state of Washington to practice naturopathic medicine, gets in his car, crosses a couple of state lines, decides to live in Chicago, if he was to do exactly the same thing in Chicago that he did in Seattle, Washington, he'd be thrown in jail for a year and then fined $5,000 for practicing medicine without a license. And just by referring to myself on a website as Dr. Glidden, the state wants to hammer me. Can you believe the insanity? No, it's ridiculous, isn't it? You know, this isn't the, what is this? What are we living in the antebellum South? Where, you know, there's still slavery. You know, those Negroes, they're not really people. Oh, those naturopaths, they're not really doctors. You got to be kidding me. This is a perfect example of the state of affairs of medicine in the United States. And this is exactly why we have a healthcare crisis. Because everybody, legislators included, have drunk the Kool-Aid that when it comes to medical science, MDs are the undisputed king. And everybody else is dangerous. They have substandard training, and, you know, they're just basically back-of-the-bus quacks, quite frankly. After the famous Flexner Report in the 1920s, the Carnegies funded a man named Rudolph, I think, or Abraham Flexner. Abraham, I think, was his name. He went all around the country and did an inventory of all the medical schools in the United States, came back and gave the list to the Carnegies. And the Carnegies gave millions of dollars, and this was in the 20s when $1 million really was $1 million, gave millions of dollars to the medical schools and the medical hospitals in the United States that prescribe drugs. the MD medical schools, because that's the MD's whole philosophy is pharmaceutical training. MDs don't practice medicine, remember. They practice allopathic medicine. They're not trained in medicine. Nobody is. They're trained in reductionistic medicine with the almost exclusive use of pharmaceuticals in order to manage illness. Remember, MDs don't cure anything. They manage disease. The only things they can cure are inside of their domain, inside of their wheelhouse, which is surgery and trauma. For that, they're good. So the Carnegies gave millions of dollars of free money to the MDs, and everybody else took a back seat. Quite frankly, everybody else was kicked off of the bus because they also glad-handed legislators into passing ridiculous laws that made it illegal to practice medicine unless you were an MD. So the chiropractors got kicked out, the osteopaths got kicked out, the homeopaths got kicked out, the naturopaths got kicked out. There weren't even any acupuncturists around back then, but they got kicked out. The MD stole the election. They stole the driver's seat of medicine in 1920, and there's been no looking back. Now, after World War II in the United States, because, you know, most men were killed in World War II, right? Women weren't on the battlefield like they are now. It was all men. The American Medical Association, which is all MD, was faced with a sticky wicket because they had lots of space. A lot of the doctors were killed in World War II. So there was a strong lack of medical doctors with private practice here in the United States. So what did they do? Well, they made a deal with the osteopaths, the DOs. Now, before World War II, the osteopaths were a separate and distinct medical profession, and the whole osteopathic thing was that you're going to facilitate the health of the human body by manipulating soft tissue. The chiropractic thing is you're going to facilitate the health of the human body by manipulating bony tissue. Well, the osteopath said, well, not only do you have to do that, but you have to manipulate soft tissue, muscle and fascia and tendons and ligaments in addition to just doing the bony manipulation that the chiropractors were trained in. But after World War II, the MDs made a deal with the DOs, and they said, we will give you full access to all insurance, and we will let you legally call yourself physicians if you just come over to our way of thinking. And then they screwed them and basically turned the education of an osteopath into, it's the same thing as an MD gets. I know, because I was almost a freshman. I was almost enrolled in the osteopathic medical adventure before I became a naturopath. And there's one college and one osteopathic medical school in the United States, it's in Biddeford, Maine, that still practices or teaches its students osteopathic visceral manipulation techniques, soft tissue manipulation. There's only one school that does it. So the osteopaths sold out to the MDs in order to secure a greater share of patient business, right? The chiropractors struggled back. The naturopathic profession is struggling back. The homeopaths are completely toast in history. The homeopathic profession was completely unorganized and is non-existent now. And that's really a gigantic historical shame. It's just a tragedy that the homeopaths could never secure a foothold back into the medical arena like the naturopaths and the chiropractors did. But I got to tell you something, the naturopaths are the red-headed stepchildren of the medical world in the United States, politically speaking, because we're only licensed and regulated in 16 states. And if you're foolish enough, as Dr. Glidden is, to work in an unlicensed state, which is, by the way, how my profession grows. Adventurous souls like myself work in unlicensed states, giving health consultations, right, to clients, not patients, can't diagnose disease, can't order any lab work, can't prescribe drugs, can't do any invasive procedures, can't do any diagnostic techniques, can't even touch a patient, for goodness sake, can't even call a patient a patient. So we move to states like this and work under those conditions, and even working under those conditions, we get a following. And, because the stuff that we do is 1,000 times better than the stuff that the MDs do. And so, you get 5,000 patients who are behind you, and then they tell all their family and friends, and then you go to the State House and say, listen, we want the state to license and regulate naturopathic medicine so insurance can pay for it, and it will be regulated, and it will be better for everybody. That's how the profession grows. In the meantime, we have to put up with nonsense like, $5,000 fines. You've got to be kidding me. The United States of America. What is this, Jim Crow? It's crazy what's going on here, and most people are completely blind, completely unaware. Most people have drunk the Kool-Aid that the MD is king so deeply, they don't even know what a naturopath is. Naturopath? We don't need hiking trails. We need jobs. That's what a governor of a southern state told us when we were trying to get naturopathic medicine licensed in that state. That is an actual quote. Naturopaths, we don't need hiking trails, we need jobs. That's how out of the loop everybody is in this world about the wonders of medical nutrition. I'm in for the long haul, folks, and it's a good fight. You don't have to worry about good old Dr. Glidden, because I'm not going anywhere, and, I'm going to work it out with the state to my own advantage. But the fact of the matter is, it is an oppressive, monopolistic medical theater that you find yourself in, which is just one more good reason that everybody listening to this radio show, everybody in this country, should fire their MDs now. Because the therapies that they offer are ineffective, dangerous, expensive. They're the leading cause of bankruptcy and the leading cause of death. It's time to call a spade, ladies and gentlemen. Fire your MD now and call me instead. MDnow.com, the name of the website. 855-347-3696 is the podcast number if you're listening after the live show and want help from a real live human being. That number, 855-347-3696. The call-in number today and every day to speak to me live is 866-582-9933. And it's official. Just got off the phone with the managers of the Genesis Communication Network. What's better? What's better, I ask you, than 1 hour of Dr. Glidden? Well, that would be 2 hours of Dr. Glidden, which is going to happen in January of 2013. We're going to be airing 2 hours every day from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock Central Time. This is going to open up a lot of possibilities. We can spend a lot more time talking about particulars of stuff. I can spend a lot more time educating you about what's going on. Can spend a lot more time with guests. Can just basically have a lot more fun with the radio format. So it's very exciting, folks. Spread the word. 2 hours of Fire Your MD Now. How's that for a Christmas present? That's pretty gosh darn good, I think. That's coming your way in 2013. Now, if you read the newspapers today, George Bush Sr. is in the hospital for bronchitis that's not remitting. It's not responding to conventional treatment. He's had a cough that just won't go away. Now, if the MDs can't fix a cough that won't go away, they can't fix a cough in an ex-president of the United States, how effective do you think they're going to be at fixing your blood pressure? Fixing it. How effective do you think they're going to be at fixing your type 2 diabetes or arthritis? How effective do you think they're going to be at fixing cancer? They can't even fix a cough in an ex-president of the United States. For goodness sake, by the way, George Bush Sr. for the last couple of years has been confined to a wheelchair. Well, I don't know if he's confined to a wheelchair, but he's in a wheelchair because he has what they're calling a variation of Parkinson's disease, which means they don't know what the hell it is. They got to call it something. They don't want to look stupid, so they got together in a smoky room in the back, in a back office in Tufts or in Harvard somewhere. Put their thinking caps on and said, what are we going to do, boys? Well, I don't know what it is. You know what it is? I don't know what it is. You know what it is? I don't know what it is. Well, it looks kind of like Parkinson's, so that's what we're going to call it. It's a variant. It's a variant of Parkinson's. It's got to be genetic. That old George must have a bad gene. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a bad gene. Too bad, Georgie. You're in the wheelchair, baby. So, now look. You know how rich George Bush is? Rich. Wicked rich. Remember when he was trying to be reelected? I forget who he was running against. And there was that kerfuffle, they were trying to make him look like a normal person, and they showed him at a supermarket. And he walked up to the checkout counter, and he looked down at the laser scanner, and he said, "What the heck is that?" Because he'd never seen a laser scanner. Why? Because he'd never been to a supermarket. Why? Because he's so rich, he has other people shop for him. He'd never been in a supermarket in his life. That's how rich he is. Now, one of the richest men, and arguably one of the most powerful men in the world, used to be the director of the CIA. Somebody's probably listening at the CIA to this radio broadcast now because I mentioned CIA and George Bush in the same sentence. There, I'll say it again, just so you're listening. CIA, George Bush. CIA, George Bush. CIA, George Bush. Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden. Now, I'm sure I have their attention. If George Bush Sr. can get a chronic debilitating neurological disease and get no satisfaction with all of his money and power, how good do you think your outcome's going to be? Every time you see one of the mighty and rich people in this country go down for the count with a health, you should be terrified. And I mean terrified. Because if all of his money and all of his connections and all of his power couldn't fix his neurological condition, you think they're going to be able to fix yours? Hell no. Which is why you need to fire your MD, because they stink at what they do, which is why you need to get on board as quickly as possible with the 90 essential nutrients and eliminating the 10 deadly foods from your diet. Eliminate the 10 foods, take the Healthy Start Pack and selenium, appropriate for your body weight, and increase your consumption of antioxidants between 50 and 100,000 ORAC points a day. You do those 3 things, folks, you are going to sail through life with medical ease. And the only documents in your folder at the time in your medical record at the time of your death is going to be a birth certificate and a death certificate. Because life is meant to be lived with health. Your body knows how to fix itself. Your body wants to fix itself. All it needs is the raw materials, and you get that through longevity. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Give me a call, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden. That's right, Dr. Peter Glidden. Let me say that one more time. Dr. Peter Glidden, BSND, proud carrier of the naturopathic doctor eponym. That's me, baby. Naturopathic doctor extraordinaire. I really am continually amazed by how backwards we are in this society. The United States is a great place. It's really a great place, all things considered. But when it comes to medicine, it's a nightmare. And, we should let Central American countries give us a clue, right? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Whenever one of those countries down there, the peasants rise up and kick out the dictator and then put one of the peasants in power, in a couple of years he's a dictator. And the circle goes round and round. Well, absolute power corrupts absolutely. The MDs have had absolute power since the 1920s. And it is completely corrupted. Which is, I guess, par for the course, and that's life, but it really hits home because it's medicine. And it's the leading cause of death in the United States. We can agree to have different religious ideologies. We can agree to have different political ideologies because nobody gets killed. Well, unless you're in Israel or Lebanon, then you get killed because of differing religious ideologies. But by and large here, you're welcome to your own opinion, just not your own set of facts. The problem here in the United States is that because the MDs have monopolized everything for such a long period of time, everybody is completely clueless. Even the president is clueless. If the president knew I existed, if George Bush Sr. knew I existed, I could help him a tremendous amount. But, he's old school. He's not going to do anything that I tell him to do because he's old school. And that generation is dying out. I guess that's the one good thing, because medicine advances one funeral at a time. Science advances one funeral at a time. We just have to play the waiting game. So while we are encouraging people to just stop using the MDs, they are slowly going to go away by attrition. They're just going to die out. And I cannot wait for the day that I'm driving my car down the road and I get to one of those intersections where all the panhandlers hang out, and there's going to be 3 MDs in white coats holding up signs. Will do appendectomy for food. Because they're out of business. How are we going to put them out of business? By stopping using them. Just stop using them, folks. Don't give them your dollars anymore. Don't give them your respect anymore. Certainly don't give them your bodies anymore. Not if you're suffering with a chronic disease. That is a fool's errand. The number to call me in today, we have lines open, 866-582-9933. That's 866-582-9933. We're going to go right to the phones now with Ray from Pennsylvania. Ray, thanks for calling. You are live.
Well, this is going to be more informational than diagnostic, because this woman is also old school. She's only 46, but she's into the MDs, and she has both feet have bunions. So it's gotten so painful that in January she's going to have one foot operated on, and that takes a couple months to recover, and then sometime later, sometime later, she's going to have the other foot done. And that must run in the family, because her mother has something similar, except that they're spread outward instead of on top of each other. And her niece, sister's daughter, has it even worse, clumped together, on top of each other.
Yeah.
So it must be, there goes that's a gene, isn't it?
Well, there's whether it's a gene or not, you can make the argument. The argument for the genetics is an extremely complicated subject, and because MDs have kind of, they were pitching us this notion that everything's genetic for years, and when that notion completely fell apart because of research and clinical findings, now the MDs are coining a term called epigenetics. And epigenetics is supposed to be, from the MD's point of view, you have hidden genes that are in the background that get turned on because of different stressors in life. So, if there's too much pesticide in your blood, this particular gene gets turned on. If there's too much of this toxic metal like mercury in your blood, then this gene expression gets turned on, and so forth and so on. We don't believe it's genetic. We believe it's mutation to the genetic code, which is different than a gene. We believe it's a mutated gene, a damaged gene. The MDs, a damaged chromosome. The MDs believe it's an actual gene itself, and they're wrong. But in any event, the fact of the matter is, if it was purely genetic, then it would be getting less and less and less of an incidence in her family rather than more and more and more, because the genetics argues that the weak people in the herd get weeded out, right? So if these things were genetic, and human species are 2,000 years old, then all the people with the bad bunion gene would have gotten culled from the herd a long time ago. So it's not genetic, all right? But there it is, nonetheless. And now if this woman's got her head up her you-know-what, and she's in love with the MDs, you've got one chance and one chance only. You have to provide her with something that's going to generate specific and measurable, noticeable results in a short amount of time. So, here's what I would recommend in that regard. I would have her take 1 ounce of the cherry mints, 1 ounce of the cherry mints in 3 ounces of water, 1 ounce of the cherry mints in 3 ounces of water 3 times a day for 2 weeks. 1 ounce of the cherry mints in 3 ounces of water 3 times a day for 2 weeks. That may reduce the pain, reduce the inflammation, reduce the expression of the bunion to such an extent that she sees, oh my God, I feel better. Maybe I don't need the surgery, and then you're going to have a leg in the door.
Oh.
That's your only option with kind of, pig-headed people like this. And this is one of the tricks that we use, Ray, to drag people into the light of medical nutrition.
And then the same thing with the 13-year-old girl.
Yeah, it's the same thing. The same thing. Now,
give her the same thing.
Yeah, well, if she's 13, I'd give her 1 ounce twice a day. All right?
Oh, okay.
I mean, you don't need to give her that much in order to create a result, but in the older woman you would, especially if we're trying for like an emergency triage-like intervention here, right, in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So you got to be smart. You got to try to show people results, right? And we're so used to fast results here in the United States. For goodness sake, you take the Tylenol and your migraine's gone in 20 minutes. It's not cured, but it's gone, and then it comes back a couple hours later. But, we're used to fast results. I met a man, he's become a friend of mine. His name is Bernie Owens. He's in his 60s. He lives in upstate New York. He's one of the multi-million-dollar earners with Youngevity. He's been with Youngevity forever. And he built his entire business by giving people a bottle of the minerals. He'd give it to them. And he'd say, look, I see that you're suffering with a health complaint. This stuff's going to make you feel better. It's really great. Here, I'm going to give it to you. I want you to try it. And if it works, you can pay me for it, and I'll get you more. And every single person that he did that to paid him for it and got more. Nobody stiffed him because everybody's deficient in minerals. Everybody is extremely deficient in minerals, but they've gotten used to it. So when you give people just the minerals, not the whole Healthy Start Pack, just the minerals, $20 a bottle, for goodness sake.
And the cherry mints are delicious.
I know, it is delicious, isn't it? It is. This is the best stuff since the sterile technique, Ray. So that's what I would do. And you may also be able to get a little bit of wiggle room if you just lend her a copy of Dr. Wallach's CD, Dead Doctors Don't Lie.
Okay.
Lend her a copy, see if she'll listen to it. If she'll listen to it, maybe lights will go off in her brain. Who knows? But if she takes the cherry mints, she's going to feel better, and that might give you a leg up on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's amazing. You mean it can actually have an effect on bones?
Well, yeah, because the reason that a bunion forms is because the bones have lost their structural integrity. And, when the bones become weak and they've lost their structural integrity, when the bone rubs up against the foot, the shoe, which it does just by walking down the street, the bone becomes irritated. And it wouldn't become irritated if it had its structural integrity. It's the same thing it's almost exactly the same mechanism that makes a blister form, right? A blister is irritation to the skin. A bunion is irritation to the bone. And why doesn't everybody get bunions? Because most people's bones have, at least 50% structural integrity. When the bone loses structural integrity so much that bunions start to form, arthritis, Charcot's foot, osteopenia, osteoporosis, they're lurking in the shadows, baby. I'm telling you, the bunions are the least of this woman's trouble. But from our point of view, bunions are caused by a lack of minerals in the bones, because it's the minerals that give the bones structural integrity. So that's what I would start with as an inexpensive intervention in order to hopefully show this woman the light of medical nutrition.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
Ray.
you.
Give it a try.
You.
Call me back and let me know what happens. Thanks so much for calling. I appreciate your call. I appreciate everybody that calls here, folks. We're all in this together. And that's, speaks to Dr. Wallach's wisdom, because Dr. Wallach, the founder of Youngevity, had a choice. He had a conscious choice. He could have sold his vitamins to health food stores. He could have set up a direct-to-physicians-only vitamin company. He could have done that. He could have sold his vitamins on the Home Shopping Network, right? He could have done that. But he didn't. Instead, he chose on purpose to set Youngevity up as a networked business. Why did he do that? Because we're growing a grassroots coalition. We are encouraging people just to stop using the MDs, and because healing is easy. It's easy. Healing is easy. Your body knows how to fix itself. Your body wants to fix itself. It just needs the raw materials. And you need to stop eating crap that's gumming up the works. And you need to increase your intake of antioxidants. It's that simple. 3 things. 1, 2, 3. Bada bing, bada boom. So, a grassroots coalition is what we are up to. We are forming an army of sorts, an army of informed individuals who have seen and experienced the wonders of science-based, clinically verified nutrition. They've tried it for themselves, they've got great results, and they tell everybody in their lives about it, and then they get paid. And what's better than that? Longevity will pay you to do something that you would do for free. Tell people your success stories. Everybody wants to hear your success story, and you can't wait to tell people your success story. And this is what we do, folks. You don't know what you're missing if you're not a Longevity member. You really don't know what you're missing if you're not a Longevity member. And, if you're a little wary about it, you don't know that much about it, you certainly don't want to invest your life savings. We're not asking you to do that. You can become a Longevity member. Try it out for $10. $10. $10. I spent $10 on coffee the other day. I know I'm a knucklehead, but I love coffee. $10 is a buy-in to become a Longevity member. Check it out at fireyourmdnow.com and click on the Join Up. Hey, welcome back. Everybody must be shy today. We don't have that many callers. I guess everybody's out doing other things. 866-582-9933. There's only 5 minutes left in this segment. If you need to call me, you better call quick. Otherwise, I'm going to go on a rant. You know how I love to rant. So what am I going to rant about right now? A detox. Everybody that doesn't know anything about anything, they think they know everything about everything, says, oh, I need a detox. I got to go to the spa. I got to get a detox. I got to get a detox. I need a detox. I'm going to do a 10-day detox. I'm going to do a 3-day detox. I'm going to do the master cleanse. That's it. I'm going to do the master cleanse. Well, look, I've had 3 remarkable healings in my life. I would almost consider miraculous. 2 of them have been with detoxification procedures, so I'm a big advocate of detox, and I know everything about it. I also have an old friend who's now dead who gave himself leukemia from a 40-day water fast. That's right. He went into the woods just like Jesus, only drank water for 40 days. 2 months later was diagnosed with leukemia. Well, how the heck did that happen? Well, I'll tell you how that happened. Most of the crap that's in the air, the food, and the water is fat soluble. Most of the toxins that we are exposed to are fat soluble. So what happens? Remember, your body's got wisdom. So you're exposed to a toxin. It goes into the body knows it's a toxin, doesn't have the resources to get rid of it, so it sticks it away in fatty tissue. So it gets it out of the bloodstream, so it can't hurt things by circulating all around the body and causing damage. It locks up the toxin in a little fatty cell, and life is good. So now you've got all of this toxic crap in the fatty tissue of your body. Your body needs fat. There's fatty tissue everywhere. So you got toxins in fatty tissue, and now you decide to go on a cleanse. Well, what happens when you're on a cleanse? You burn fat. What happens when you burn fat? You liberate toxins into the bloodstream. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, that depends on how many nutrients you need, because what happens with crap that's in the blood is it eventually finds its way to the liver. And it is the liver's job to detoxify the crap. And it does that in 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2, conjugation and I forget what the other phase is called, but there's 2 phases to the liver's detoxification of a nutrient. Both of the phases of crap cleansing, detoxification in the liver, demand nutrients and lots of them. So if you don't have enough B vitamins, if you don't have enough minerals, if you don't have enough amino acids in your body, you burn fat, you liberate the toxic crap. It enters into the liver. The liver tries to detoxify it, but it doesn't have the raw materials necessary to do it. So maybe it only detoxifies 10% of it. 90% of it gets through the liver, gets into the circulatory system, goes everywhere in the body and causes damage. Detoxifying your body without first nutrifying your body is exactly like walking up to a hornet's nest, smacking the crap out of it with a broomstick and just standing there. You're going to stir up a hornet's nest if you detoxify without first nutrifying your body. But nobody knows this. Nobody knows this. And there are hundreds of myths that exist in holistic medicine. Hundreds of myths, right? Oh, thimerosal is what causes autism. No, it's not. Aluminum is what causes Alzheimer's disease. No, it's not. It's the artificial sweeteners that cause, Gulf War syndrome. Well, no, it's not. You know how many people died from sucralose last year? 0. You know how many people died from MD-directed treatments last year? 780,000. You want to be afraid of something, be afraid of your medical doctor. Really? You're telling me that sucralose is bad, and yet you have medical insurance that gives you access, automatic access, gives you, a get-in free card to the MD treatment club? You got to be kidding me. You're a hypocrite. You think sucralose is bad, but you have medical insurance, you're a hypocrite. That's as simple as I can say it. Sucralose is not bad. MD medical treatments are bad. If you're going to detoxify your body, first nutrify. Nutrify for 3 months with the Healthy Start Pack and clean up your diet and give your body selenium, give your body antioxidants for 3 months, and then do a detox. But while you're detoxing, continue to take your supplements. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. I'll see you tomorrow.